I got some tea to spill, so if you're ready to chill, take a jail pill.
Hello, hi, how are we doing? Is everybody good? Don't you hate that at like camps and stuff, or like church or wherever? Would they be like, is everyone doing good? I can't hear you. One of my biggest pet peeves in the world is when you're at some event and someone does that. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you know? I can't hear you. I just want to leave. You know what I mean? Like, just stop it. I'm already ranting and it's like 20 seconds in. I don't know, guys. What's wrong with me? All right. How's everybody doing? I hope you had a great week. I had a much better week this week than I did previously, so that's good. I was in New York City for work, and I love New York. Also, I find it extremely overstimulating. Like it's magical in certain ways. And in some ways, like when I first got there, like took the bus and I took a cab to my hotel, and I was like running late for dinner. So I had to like rush out and walk to dinner. And as I'm walking to dinner, so this is like my first time walking in New York this trip, this lady just yells in my face words that I can't say on this podcast, because you might be listening with your kids, and I don't want them to think take a Jill pill is this explicit, you know. I want you to be able to listen to with your kids, you know, if you want to. Although I will tell you, this episode will be talking about some things where you won't want kids around, but I'll tell you about that later. Anyway, she yelled something in my face, not to me, but it was right in my face, very aggressive, very bad words. And I was like, okay, I'm here, you know, it is what it is. But it's also like kind of magical. You can just wander around. I did walk around at night. I maybe shouldn't feel as safe as I do, but I just feel kind of like it's fine. But I know a lot of people have gotten like punched and mugged and stuff recently. I don't know. I did fine. I had to get my walk in. You're only there for a couple of days. You got to kind of do it. So I was there with my friends, Jason and Rhonda Halbert, and I work with them, and they just released book 3 of their trilogy, which if you haven't read it yet, The Good Pasture Chronicles, you should. I'll put a link in the notes. But they were going to be on the Kelly Clarkson show. Jason's on there every day. He's the music director. But every time they're on there to promote their books, I go with them and I work with them. So anyway, we're at 30 Rock. And like it's like the Today Show, Saturday Night Live, Jimmy Fallon, like all the shows taped there. It's a cool place to be. And you're in the halls and you just never know who you're going to see there. And on this episode, Tina Fey was also on the Kelly show at the same time. So she was there, I just love Tina Fey. You know, are you an SNL fan, 30 Rock? Like all the things, she's just great. But it reminded me of one time we were doing Saturday Night Live. We were playing on there. And the host for the episode we were doing was Tracy Morgan. It was during the time where 30 Rock, the TV show, was really big. I didn't watch it yet. So like I didn't, Tina Fey's on that too. So I didn't watch 30 Rock. I knew who she was and like Alec Baldwin. And I knew Tracy Morgan, who that was. But like I didn't know the rest of the show. Like if you're a 30 Rock fan, like Kenneth and Frank and Jenna, like the whole crew of them. And I became a 30 Rock fan later in life. But anyway, so they're all there, just roaming the hallways with us, just hanging, like chilling, talking. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And I'm so mad at myself now because I started watching 30 Rock probably like a year later. And I'm like, I love that show. It's so funny. And there I had been just hanging with all these people who now I'm like big fans of. And I was like oblivious to who they were. I remember Frank specifically because he had that red hat, like trucker hat. He was just, and Kenneth, why did I mess that one up, Anyway, New York does just have like a buzz about it. You know what I mean? I could never live there. I know people love it and like get used to it. I don't know. It's not for me. I've moved to such a slow pace of life here in the Northeast that I'm like, I guess New York is the Northeast, but you know what I mean? I just like, it takes me a minute to recover. I was so tired when I got back, but it was such a great trip. Always fun, great food, great coffee. I love walking in Central Park. I'm just kind of like, I don't do anything crazy. It's just get my bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll and a nice coffee and walk around Central Park when I'm not working. So anyway, that was fun. Also, there's a bear in town, okay, in my town right now. And people have spotted it like, at their bird feeders or on their Ring cameras, whatever. Like everywhere, they're building a lot here. They're doing a lot of building like condos and stuff, which stinks because there's so many beautiful parts here and it does kind of bum me out. But there are a lot of woods still left in certain areas. And near my dad's house is one of those areas. Like there's a lot of woods there. And the bear was spotted like a half a mile from my dad's house. Well, it's been a few places, but that was one. Okay. The other place that I just saw that it was spotted was on the jetty, walking out on the jetty in the park where I walk every morning. Okay. Now, I thought it was AI because you can't believe anything you see anymore, right? Any video, especially with an animal doing something crazy, it's like AI. And then you're the idiot who, fell for it. I'm still not convinced it's not AI, but I'm 99.9% sure. I just need to put that little caveat in there in case it ends up being AI and I look like an idiot. Okay, there we go. Anyway, there's a bear out there just on the jetty. Was he fishing? Was he looking? What was he doing? And if I were like today, I kept on the path. I didn't go into the woods or anywhere crazy because I think I need to get bear spray. I need to get something. I do have pepper spray, but I don't know if that's enough, I got to practice what you do if you come across a bear. Don't you get real big and come at them sort of? Isn't that what you do? I should look that up. Anyway, I'll let you know if I run into the bear. He's very cute, but I don't think it'd be that cute if I ran into him. You know what I mean? Poor guy. He's just looking for somewhere to go and get food and hang out and whatever. And they paved paradise to put up a parking lot. You know what I mean? Anyway, what else happened this week? I had to go to a funeral, which funerals are always aren't they perspective shifters? I don't know. It just doesn't matter if the person's young or old or if you know them well or you don't or whatever it is. It's a funeral has this way of just putting life into perspective. It did that for me yesterday at the funeral. It's just man, people are going to remember specific little things about you and hopefully that stick with them. And then also though, in however many years, you're going to disappear. No one's going to know you. No one's going to remember you. And I don't mean to be Debbie Downer about that, but in some ways, everything matters and nothing matters. You know what I mean? I live in that sort of place, especially when faced with death, you're just everything matters. This person, the kindness that I treat them with matters. And then also nothing matters. No one will remember me in 100 years. I don't know. I don't know you got to live somewhere in between that, I guess. But I don't know. Love the people around you and be good as much as you can and take some risks, live a little because it's just ticking away. Okay. All right. That felt like I did the Jill pill early, but I didn't. That wasn't the Jill pill. Don't worry. We still have one. All right. Let me tell you about how today's episode is going to go. I'm going to get into another cult today, guys. Not get into it, as you know, but I'm going to talk about a cult that I find fascinating, the NXIVM cult. Okay. So we're going to start there and really get into what it was. I'm sure you've heard of it because it's a more recent thing and it had celebrities involved and stuff like that. So you know probably what I'm talking about, the NXIVM cult. But I'm going to talk about that. And then we're going to do my top 5. I'm going to do top 5 podcasts. A lot of people have asked for this. And I'm going with, I have a lot of podcasts I love. So I'm going with a true crime, intense sort of drama podcast theme for this. Okay. So we'll do my top 5 of that. Then we will have listener questions and then we'll take a Jill pill. Let's go. All right. I love cults. I do. I just find them so fascinating. And this one I'm going to talk about today is called NXIVM. And it's NXIVM or something. I don't know. It's some weird, that should have been the tell, you guys. What are we doing? Anyway, I know that we're all capable of falling into this, but sometimes I'm how did these people get involved? Okay. So to give you an overview, this cult started in Albany, New York by this guy named Keith Rainier and this woman named Nancy Salzman. Okay. Now he had a background in MLM, multi-level marketing stuff, and apparently was a very bright, smart, maybe kind of a savant of some sort. I don't know if I really believe that, but that's what they say. And then the woman, she was a nurse and specialized in hypnosis and stuff. Anyway, they started this cult as a self-help executive coaching type of group. So I don't know if they started it to be a cult. I don't know. I think anyone who starts something is probably kind of trying to be a cult, but I don't know that they had that in their minds. And why is there always a woman involved? I just need to know. This is a big question I have about cults because there's always some guy and then a woman sidekick. And I don't know. I find that to be so fascinating. I don't think they were together, although knowing him, once we get into it, there was probably some stuff going on there. Oh, speaking of that, if you do have kids around, I love your kids. I love kids. I don't think you probably want them hearing all the details. Although I'm not going to get like, you know me, I'm not going to get like super graphic, but some weird stuff happened here. Okay. So maybe just put the kids' headphones on for a little while and they can watch Danny Go or something and we can just talk. Okay. All right. So this cult, it's a lot like Scientology, which I was also really into. I would like to do a whole podcast about Scientology, but there's so much to that. I don't even know where to start. Right. Okay. So this, though, is a lot like Scientology in that they started offering these like self-help, coaching, like betterment courses, okay? And people pay thousands of dollars to take these courses in like executive leadership and professional development and growth, like personal growth, stuff like that. Organization. It's like, you're just becoming a better, more well-rounded person. I don't know. But they started all these classes and people at the very beginning were like, this is great. Like, I'm really learning a lot and I'm becoming a better person, whatever. But they were spending a lot of money, guys, a lot. Okay. Like, go to college, or something. I don't know. But these people had a lot of money to spend. That's the thing, which is another interesting fact here because these are like well-educated, well-to-do, self-sufficient people who are joining this group. I won't call it a cult yet. They're smart people, supposedly, like intelligent people who don't need a lot. They just but everyone needs something, right? Everyone needs to be a part of something or needs to feel like they're getting better. There's like something that's motivating all these people who are joining NXIVM. NXIVM, you guys. It sounds like an internet server or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so the group grows and grows. People are spending a lot of money. And the big giveaway for me that this is a cult is this leader, Keith Rainier, okay? I don't really know where Nancy, the woman, she kind of got moved into the background as far as I can tell during all of this because he really rises to the top and they believe, all the people in the group believe he was an evolved being, okay? Like they called him Vanguard. Why? I don't know. Again, you're in this group, it's called NXIVM, you're spending all this money, and there's this guy, and you have to call him Vanguard, but his name's Keith. His name's Keith, okay? Why am I calling you Vanguard? Like, get me out of this group, like, don't stop charging me. I'm leaving. But no, people are just like, he's like a god to them, okay? They thought he had some special ability and they just flocked to him. I do think some people have like charisma and this can happen as like a leader or even like a pop star or something like that. But Keith feels, I don't see it. You know what I mean? Keith's just this normal guy. Vanguard. I guess maybe they had to name him Vanguard to like make it more elevated. I don't know, but he has all these people in the group and then they start recruiting other people to be in the group. So it does have this like MLM type structure that begins. And there are men and women in this, but the thing that gets real weird and how it's sort of the beginning of the downfall of this cult, right, is that there became this group called DOS. They were like all women and they were like a secret group within the group, okay? This is really the real cult here, I think. So all these women became part of this group, the cult within the cult, and many of them became sexually involved with Keith Rainier, okay? He was sleeping with everyone, all of them, allegedly. The most famous person who was part of this was Allison Mack, who was on Smallville. She actually ended up going down for this cult in the end. So like, but she was like a leading member of it and she would recruit other people and other women to get in this cult. But to get into this group, the DOS, I think it's called DOS. I don't know. I don't know if it's DOS or DOS. I'm going to call it DOS. To get into the DOS, the cult within the cult, these women had to give collateral, okay? They had to like prove that they're committed to Vanguard. I can't with the Vanguard thing. I don't know why. That one just gets me. Anyway, because I think Keith is too like plain and normal, like you can't worship someone named Keith. Sorry to my friend Keith who's potentially listening to this or anyone else named Keith who's listening to this. It's a strong name, but I don't think it's like, it's not a worship. Like I'm not going to worship someone, named Keith. Oh man, this is getting too weird. Okay. So Vanguard makes these women give like blackmail material, whether that be like pictures, weird financial stuff. They have to like have videos of them doing compromising things. You know what blackmail is. So like whatever it is, they have to give this collateral so that they're committed to both the other women and to Vanguard. Okay. Because there were like top secret things going on here. What they were, I don't really know all of them, but they had to sign NDAs. And then the biggest thing that you probably know this cult for, if you know about this, this is the thing that really like everyone was like, what? The women in the DOS group had to get branded on like their hip area. I don't know, pelvic, I don't know, with like a burned branding, you know, like you brand a farm animal or something. And they thought it was this like symbol and whatever it meant. But it turns out it was actually Keith Raniere's initials, KR. I don't know why it didn't say Vanguard. But anyway, Keith Raniere, yeah, it was his initials, and they all got it branded, like basically tattooed, like burned into their skin. At what point are you, because there's a podcast that's about this. And if you haven't listened to it, there's a few documentaries, and there's a podcast called Escaping NXIVM. If you want to really learn more about this cult and like all the deets, you got to listen to that because it's fascinating. I'm not going to go that deep here. But the thing that fascinates me is like, at what point, maybe these women were drugged while they were getting branded. I feel like I have a little memory of some of that. Like maybe they weren't totally in their right mind when this was happening, but like, I don't know, guys. I don't know if anyone was like, we're going to brand you with this. I don't know if there's anything on God's green earth. I mean, I do have tattoos, but I chose those and like, I want those. If anyone was like forcing me to get anything branded or tattooed onto me, no, like, where's your autonomy, you know? And I don't know, guys, this is what's so fascinating to me. Are you so longing to be part of something? And I think some people are, that you're just like, yeah, I'm all in, let's go. I love this guy. He's like a god, Vanguard. And I just want to be part of it. So I'm going to be branded. I mean, maybe they just think like my body's not my own anyway. It's Vanguard's, you know, I don't know. You have to kind of get into their heads and think, because I'm not judging these people, because these are like I said, these are normal people. And when you hear them like rehash it, some of the people who were in it tell about how they got involved, and they're like level-headed people for the most part. I mean, listen, we're all capable of anything, right? Because we're just humans. But there was something going on there that got them involved in this cult enough where they're like all sleeping with the same guy and branding his name on their bodies. Just to be better at like personal growth and development, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't really think I care that much about my professional and personal growth and development as at this point in my life. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm good. You know, I don't know. So basically it becomes this weird sex cult, honestly. That's what it ended up being. And what happened is, fortunately, some of these women in DOS started to get out of this cult. Like they started to leave and speak up about it. And then there were some journalists who came in and did like investigations, and then a federal investigation, and they found what was going on. And Vanguard, Keith Raniere, got taken down for like sex trafficking, forced labor, racketeering. There was like a bunch of stuff, but mostly it was the sex trafficking thing, because these women were like basically forced into this, you know? Oh, and I think financial crimes, because I think he made a ton of money off these people. So he did end up getting arrested and taken down. And also the woman who co-founded it with him, Nancy, the nurse, who was I don't know if she was a hypnotist, but whatever. Maybe these people were all hypnotized. That does make a little more sense. But anyway, she was charged. And then Allison Mack from Smallville, she was also charged because she recruited a bunch of people to get into this cult. So he is now serving 120 years in prison, which is good. I think that's probably a good thing. I think the other women got like just a couple years, or if that. But, you know, Vanguard is now surrounded by prison guards. So justice is served there. But I don't know. I just find this a fascinating cult because it's not as big as Scientology. Like Scientology is like a whole religion, and it's been around not that long, but it's been around enough where I kind of get people are born into it, or it looks a little more structured. There's churches and things happening. I'm not saying I think Scientology makes a lot of sense, because if you know about it, you're like, what the heck? but it's a much more structured organization. This is just like a crazy like course you could take, you know? And that's kind of scary to me because how do you know that it's not going to turn into a sex cult? I don't know. I mean, I guess you just have to be on guard, on vanguard. Anyway, the more that I read about cults and learn about cults, I do find that they often start with like some sort of a course, or people want to learn more about something very innocuous, you know, just like very kind of boring, just sort of like life stuff. So that being said, I do want to offer you guys, I do have a course coming up. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really, but if you do join my course, if you get someone else to join, you will also move up in my ladder of, no, I'm just kidding. I don't even have a joke for this. I started down that path and it wasn't going anywhere, but I tried. Okay. You get what I was saying. I'm just kidding. I don't have a course. I like courses. That's the thing. I take courses sometimes, like online stuff, and I've never, that I know of though, gotten sucked into a cult through them. So, you know, just be aware. If people start asking for a lot of money from you, like beyond just paying for the course, and then if they want, you know, information about you or blackmail photos or secrets, it's a no from me, dog. You know what I mean? Just be careful out there because you never know. And then it could be like a celebrity who's like, maybe your favorite show is Smallville. I'm trying to think of how someone could have gotten sucked into this cult. Let's say you just loved Smallville. It was your favorite show and you met Allison Mack at a party or something. And she was like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing this thing. You should totally come. You might be like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to do it. So then you go and you meet Vanguard, who must have some sort of appeal. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be something. I don't know. I don't see it, but I wasn't with him in person. And maybe he just like, you know, really focuses in on you. And he's like, you're the most amazing woman in the whole world. And you're like, I'm lonely. And I'm like defending how I might be sucked into this cult. He's so smart and he pays attention to me and all these women are supportive. They're all also being paid attention to by him as well. So I don't know, maybe you're just into that. I don't know, but you just all of a sudden are like, I'm friends with the Smallville girl. I have all these friends. I have other things going for me in this group. And you just are like, it's worth the money because I'm enjoying it and money's not a problem for me. So all of a sudden you're in DOS and you're branding KR on your body. And I don't know, guys, this is how these things happen. It seems very simple, but yikes. Anyway, if you want to learn more about this cult, it's fascinating. It's over now. Well, actually, I do think there are still some members doing the whole thing, the NXIVM thing, growing professionally and personally and developing. But like, I do think it still exists, but the whole thing is sort of, you know, when he went to prison, what do you do without Vanguard? You don't, you know what I mean? So it's over. And there's a lot of good, like I said, go watch the documentaries on it. And then also Escaping NXIVM, the podcast. It's worthwhile. It's fascinating stuff. And just beware of getting sucked into a cult. Okay. All right. Speaking of podcasts that I love and that I recommend, I'm going to move into my top 5 because we're going to do top 5 podcasts. These are top 5 podcasts in the true crime / intense, like real life drama category. Okay. I have podcast recommendations for days, but these are, I needed to go with a theme. So if you're into this kind of stuff, and if you're listening to me, you probably are kind of into this stuff. So I think you'll like all of these podcasts. You may have listened to some or all of them, but I bet all of you haven't. So I'm going to put this out there and hopefully you're going to like one or more of these. All right, number 5 is a podcast called This Is Actually Happening. And this is like individual episodes where someone tells their story of just like a crazy story that happened to them. And there's no interview. Like there probably is someone interviewing them, but they cut all of that out. So it literally is just some random person telling their story. But it's really well done because you can tell someone is asking them questions, but they just cut that out. So it just kind of flows well. It's edited well. And the stories are crazy. Some of them I can't listen to because it'll be too dark for me, where I'm like, no. You know, there will be people who have been in cults, like who are involved with a cult leader without knowing it. There are people who like discover that someone, their spouse or their parent has like a double life, or they lived through like a crazy event, you know, like either a mass shooting or they almost died in like a wilderness thing. There's just so many, I can't even begin to tell you how many different story lines there are here, but it's just a fascinating listen if you just like hearing from people and hearing some crazy stuff, you know? Again, pick and choose your episodes because some of them I'm like, oh, this is just too depressing for me. But some are so fascinating and you learn a lot about just what people go through. I'm fascinated by what people live through, like normal people, you'd never know. You know what I mean? So that's number 5. This is actually happening. Number 4 is called To Live and Die in LA. And this is a podcast about a specific story that I don't even really want to tell you too much about. I'll say this. There's a murder in LA and an investigative reporter is trying to figure out what happened. It's kind of in real time, some of it, and you're going to get so sucked into it. If you haven't listened to Live and Die in LA, you're welcome. It's so good. Okay. Number 3 is an older one, but it's called S-Town, and it stands for the word you think it stands for. And it follows this fascinating guy in, I think it's Alabama or Louisiana. It's somewhere in the deep south, Mississippi. I can't remember. This is like how people talk about New England. They're like, I don't know, Connecticut, New Hampshire. That's how I feel about the deep south. I'm like, I don't know, Mississippi, Alabama, or whatever, one of those places. And so to be fair, it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Anyway, he was somewhere down there and it's a fascinating character. And guys, surely you've listened to S-Town. And if you haven't, I feel like I'm giving you so many gifts right now because you are going to get so involved in this S-Town podcast. And if you've listened to it, it might be time to listen to it again because it's like, what is even happening? S-Town, that's a great one. I'm like thinking of other ones as I'm doing this, but maybe I'll have to do a part 2 on these because I love podcasts. I love recommending them to people. And when people recommend a good one to me, because it's like, you get involved in the story and you just kind of can like escape into it. It's like an audiobook sort of, but like, I don't know, I'm more of a podcast series person right now than I am audiobooks. So anyway, moving on. That was a little side rant. Number 2 is a podcast called Something Was Wrong. There are like 25 seasons of this now or something like that. And some of them, I'll say this right up front, I don't like the newer ones that much. But if you go back to like the first 5 or 6 seasons of Something Was Wrong. If I could go back and listen to those again for the first time, I'm like jealous if you're going to do that because some of the stories, it's like there's like a catfishing story in there where someone was catfished for a long time and they follow the whole story. Guys, it's just if you love fascinating human behavior stories, Something Was Wrong is so good. And it's like there's some dark stuff there, but you can take it. I think you can handle it. Okay. Just beware. If you're in a real dark place and you're kind of, the world is too much for you, maybe these aren't the best recommendations, go with like Armchair Expert, or something like that, which I also love. But if you're feeling like you can take it, these intense podcasts are really good. Okay. And number 1, I will put I'll link to these in the show notes because I know you're going to be like, what was it again? Anyway, my number 1 podcast for true crime, like intense real life stuff is Betrayal. I think I've talked about it before on here, but Betrayal is so good, especially certain seasons. Again, like start at the beginning. And if you're not feeling a certain story, just move on to the next season. But man, the first couple seasons of that, it's like these people who are married to like psychopaths or again, the catfishing thing. There's just some fascinating stories. I love it. I love Catfish. Remember when that show came out or that documentary? Was it a movie? I think it was a movie, then it became a TV show. That movie was wild when it first came out. There we go. Those are my top 5 podcast recommendations. Multiple people have asked me for recommendations, so I just figured I'd bump it into a top 5 and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You know what I mean? I don't really like speaking about killing birds because that just sounded a little dark. So use a different idiom there. I can't think of one. Okay. We're moving into listener questions. All right, here we go. I'm working on the transitions, you guys. It takes some time, Thank you for bearing with me here. Bearing with me. All I can think about is that bear now. Have you seen that joke that's like, people will be like, bear with me, and there's not even a bear with them. I love that. I don't know. It's just dumb. I love dumb memes. Okay. All right. listener questions. How many hours a week do you spend reacting and responding to Instagram comments and DMs? I don't spend hours a week doing that. A lot of my work is on Instagram. Like I work for other people too. I do creative consulting and creative content creation and stuff like that. And I manage some other profiles. So I'm on Instagram a lot. Okay. But I don't spend like multiple hours a week reacting and responding, I don't think. Oh, I'm sorry about this, by the way. I just found a bunch of hidden requests on my Take a Jill Pill DMs that I didn't realize were there. Like, hello, I don't know what happened there. But if I never responded to you, sorry, I will get to it. I just didn't see a bunch of them. So anyway, no, I do. I try to respond to everything that I can on Instagram, but sometimes I miss some. So I'm sorry about that. All right, next question. What are your tips for managing anxiety? Oof, that really jumped quick from Instagram to anxiety. I have had anxiety my whole life, so I feel like I should have a lot of tips. Let me think about it for a second, because I probably do. I will tell you one thing that has worked for me that I thought was like so kind of silly when I first heard about it. If you're like super anxious and you're in an environment, you can't always do this because you need to be able to have access to ice. But if you're super anxious and like can't calm down, you hold an ice cube in your palms, like maybe one in both is how I learned it. And your brain has to like focus because of the cold, because it's so cold, it like interrupts your brain loop or something. And it makes you like stop being so anxious for a minute. I know that sounds like it, you might have heard of this before. A lot of people do this, but like I hadn't heard about it till probably like 10 years ago. I don't know. Someone was telling me about it and it works for me. You can't always just go grab ice cubes, so it's within reason. But when you're feeling super anxious, ice really does do, like it's a physical thing you can do. Otherwise, tips for managing anxiety. Number one, like assess the stress in your life and how much of it is like necessary stress and how much of it is created by either you or circumstances you don't need to have going on. That's the first thing. I also think like having a couple physical things you can do, whether it's like breathing, movement in some way, like when you're having a really anxious moment, physically like do something different. Walking is really good because of the bilateral movement. So walking is a huge thing that I do. Even if I'm in the middle of a day, I'll just walk around my neighborhood for 20 minutes or something just to like reset if I'm feeling anxious. So that's another one. Again, I'm not a therapist or like I'm not qualified to really tell you this. These are just personal things for me. But the last tip I would give for managing anxiety is probably some sort of ritual, like whether it be journaling, like writing everything down, or prayer, whatever it might be, meditation for you. That's like a ritual that can kind of bring you back to just like the moment. Because I think a lot of anxiety comes from worrying about the future or social surroundings or whatever. So it's like bringing it back to like a quiet moment with yourself, journaling, praying, breathing. And sometimes you need help otherwise. Like sometimes you need help managing anxiety chemically or whatever it might be. So I'm not against any of that. I just always like to start somewhere before medicine for me. I like to start somewhere before that. But I have definitely been on anxiety medicine in my life. So I don't judge anyone for anything about that because anxiety is a real thing. It's so real. It's so real. Okay. Anyway, thank you for that question. Hopefully that helped. Next question. What is your favorite airplane conspiracy? Amelia Earhart, D.B. Cooper, Malaysian Flight? This is so easy for me. Malaysian Flight 370, 100%. Like Amelia Earhart, yeah, that one kind of like whatever. It's definitely interesting, but it's not on top of my list really. D.B. Cooper, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know enough. I need to really kind of learn more about that one. The hijacked thing, I need to learn more about that one. So I haven't really, that's why that one's not it for me. Malaysian Flight 370 just disappeared. Nowhere to be found. Like 300 people or whatever. And they just for like, I don't know how many weeks and months, they're like, yeah, we don't know, and the families are like, what? They're like, yeah, we just don't know where it is. It could be in the ocean. It could be like, which ocean? We don't know. Nothing. There was nothing and they just vanished. Okay. It's kind of like Lost. I don't know. And are those people out there somewhere? Are they in the Bermuda Triangle or like, did they crash? Did they follow the sky? Like how was no one monitoring it? Where did it go? There's something more there. And that I could talk about all day. Okay. The Malaysian Flight 370, fascinating stuff. What was that like? It was like 2018, 19. When was that? I gotta look. Oh my gosh, it was 2014, you guys. Time flies, doesn't it? How in the world? Okay, yeah, that's definitely it. But that's a great question. Maybe we should do airline conspiracies sometime, but love that one. Okay, last question for today. Very important question here, okay? So listen up. If you were a kitchen utensil, what would you be and why? Why is my first response a whisk? And I have no reason for that. It's just like the first utensil I'm thinking of. But whisks are kind of intriguing to me. You know what I mean? Because what are they? They're just like wires, but they really do. I don't know. I don't really relate to the whisk now that I'm talking about it. But anyway, I think if I were a kitchen utensil, I think I would be a spoon. Don't you love a spoon? I love spoons because like there's all different sizes. And if you get the right spoon, it just feels good. You know, I like eating most things with a spoon rather than a fork. If I could, I would. But there's something about a spoon that I just love. It's cozy and it stirs things up, you know, and maybe that's why I relate to it. I just like stirring things up. I don't really, you know me, I'm a peacemaker. But I don't know, I just love a spoon. It's soothing. It's kind of, a knife is so just one-dimensional, you know, it's one thing. A fork is a little like too much, the prongs and all the things. And, you know, there's other things like a spatula and things like that. But I don't know, there's something about a spoon that just resonates with me, you know? I love that question. I don't know why, because that's such a weird question. I'm not calling you weird for asking that question, but it is a weird question. But I kind of love it. And I am a spoon. I can picture the exact spoon that I am too. And I like that spoon. Okay. I love that you guys listen to this because for me, it's just me being nonsensical. And I appreciate if you're still listening, high five to you and thank you, because I don't know if I would listen to me talk about things like what kitchen utensil I am, but I appreciate that you do, you know, it just it brings me a little bit of joy. Okay, let's take a Jill pill. The Jill pill for this week is this: be careful what you normalize. I think it's very easy to get into patterns and like to start normalizing things and behaviors that are just like maybe not healthy and they shouldn't be normal, right? Like whether it's being mistreated or that whole chronic overwhelm and stress thing that we talked about last week, or like bad habits, toxic relationships, you know, you can normalize that stuff really quickly when you live in it for just a little while. And all of a sudden you're like, I guess it's just normal to be treated like this. Maybe not though, you know? Be careful what you normalize because those are the things that like really become who we are and like the life that we live, the things that you let be normal. If you're being treated wrong or you're living in some circumstances that are not healthy and good, just don't normalize that because it's not okay, you know? Be careful what you normalize. Guys, that's my Jill pill for you. All right, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this chat about the NXIVM cult and all the other things. Definitely go check out those podcasts, the ones about NXIVM and the ones I recommended. Keep in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram at JiPi Music or Take a Jill Pill Podcast. You can go to takeajillpill.com to find other episodes and to send me a note if you want to. And if you haven't left a rating and review, now would be a great time to do that. I wouldn't mind. I would love it actually. And I just appreciate you guys. I really do. I'm grateful you're here and I hope you have a great week. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be good. Take a Jill Pill. Bye.